Okay, so today we're actually episode number 5. We're gonna get cleaner and meaner this time.
Sure, yeah.
I'm Tyler, real estate guy. That is Jeff Morgan, your lender. He's gonna be the one to take care of you guys, get you guys through the system. February numbers were just released by UtahRealEstate.com. So we're gonna go over the February numbers, then we'll compare that to last month, year over year, and then we're also gonna compare it to the peak of the market. Because everybody says the market's gonna crash, they like to use those big extreme numbers, so we're gonna give them to you. After that, an article just came out from Realtor.com about the best week of the year to list your home, and that's coming up quick. So we'll kind of talk about that and what you need to do if you're planning to sell your house. After that, Jeff Morgan's gonna go over mortgage rates, and then kind of talk about affordability in Utah. I've been hearing a lot, are we the next California? A lot of people are saying to me, Utah's unaffordable, the prices have to crash a lot further. And last one, talk about the blood in the streets. Is that a good time to buy a house when there's blood in the streets, Jeff? We're gonna discuss that one.
Sounds terrible.
For sure, it does sound terrible. Okay, so Jeff, this is February's numbers. We've got 50 days to sell a house. Like we said last time, that's a pretty normal number in a normal market. Almost 2,500 homes sold. And the median sold price for a single family home has dropped down to $524,500. So we had 3,283 listings entered from a year ago, which was 3,800. So almost as much as when the market was scorching hot just a year ago. Let's bounce on to the next one. So now we're comparing January to February, month over month. So you notice a few little changes. Days on market actually went down by 2 days. Now, if you remember, Jeff, in February, what happened? Rates were down a little bit. Market got really...
Yeah, they were down ultimately in January. Closings in February, so the February number rates had moved back up, but, ultimately, I would say that 2 days, quicker turn time is ultimately because people felt like they could afford a house.
A month from now, March numbers are going to be kind of skewed a little because rates shot up a little bit. So they're different than, definitely different than what they would have been had we had kind of a more stable market. I'd be kind of curious to see how days on market changes and things like that. But we increased in sales by about 550 homes. And then this is the big one, Jeff. I want your reaction to this. Median sold price in January, a month ago, was $510. We actually went up. Home prices went up from January to February by $15,000.
And the funny thing is this median number, 510, is the same median number for all of 2020 across the country. You know what I mean? So you look way back to pandemic levels, that was the median sales price. The simple answer is it's an average. Plain and simple, right? Like if you're selling homes and it's over the winter time when there's seasonally an adjustment, then there are going to be an effect, or there is going to be an effect on that median number. But that increase is because there are homes coming to market, and those homes are at a higher price range. So I don't see that as anything other than, it's definitely not a bounce. We're definitely not seeing rapid appreciation. It's just a matter of averages.
So everybody who keeps saying home prices are going to crash, they still can drop. Someone told me the other day 40% more.
Absolutely not.
We're hitting that bottom. This is signs of a stabilization, of a stabilizing market. I'm not worried that prices went up $15,000 because we're talking about median price. As mortgage rates drop, people will buy more expensive homes. So that median price will come up naturally anyway. So I think we're stabilizing, guys. We have a couple of months here. We're going to be stable. So now we're looking at year-over-year numbers. I like this number because this is pretty much what everybody looks at. What were we last year? Where are we at today? 6 days on market to 50, Like discussed last time, 6 days is basically 0 days. Amount of homes sold, you're only a couple hundred higher or lower, I guess, this month than you were at the peak. And look at the median price. We're only talking about $25,000 from, this is almost the peak. We shot them a $600,000, and which we'll get there. But we're only talking about a $25,000 price correction.
And again, it's all averages, right? So if you were to take a standard home, you wouldn't necessarily see it as a percentage that it's changed, right? You're looking at every single home that's selling, and so you got a $1.2 million home and you have a $400,000 home. The way that averages out is what affects this median. So I look at that number again and I see normalization, I see stable. And even the $25,000 drop, the average home they're not going to be affected by that.
Right.
You know? It would be the people that are flipping homes or that are selling quickly if you bought at the peak and you're selling when it's lower, yeah, you're going to probably lose some money, but not the average consumer.
We need to get a chart maybe from starting from the 80s showing what home depreciation has done.
Oh, absolutely, huh? I talked about that quite a bit today. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
because like we were talking about 2 weeks ago, when the market crashed in 2007, 2008, we're all like, oh, we lost $40,000 and whatever it was.
Sure.
But you look at that chart 10 years later and it's like,
yeah.
Right.
It's good you bring that up. The median sale price for a home in 1981. Do you know what it is?
Oh, it's probably like $80,000 or
Yeah,
something.
less. It's about $75,000 bucks.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you're talking $75,000, and today our median sale price, over $500,000.
Right.
Like, absolutely, real estate is a safe bet. It always has been.
Right.
And at the end of the day, do you really want to be paying for somebody else's home, right, as a renter, or do you want to own your own home?
Right.
Market statistics, you can put all that aside. Like, owning something is better than renting something.
Right.
It just is what it is.
Jeff, it slapped me in the face this year. I thought to myself, if I could do it all over again, I wouldn't put any money into the stock market. I wouldn't put any money into cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
I would put every penny into real estate.
Sure.
I mean, maybe to start out, you put in the stock market to get some savings, but once you get your first house,
Yeah.
I think it's like, get the next one as soon as you can. 'Cause
Agreed.
That's going to set you free.
Yeah.
Right?
Agreed. That's the truth.
So let's click on to the next one here. Now we're going from the peak of the market to February. So once again, we're at near 600,000. That's when people are just getting cuckoo.
Yeah.
I mean, bids 100,000 over the asking price.
And look how many homes too.
Yeah, 4,000 homes.
4,000. Yeah, those are records.
Big numbers. Yeah, massive numbers.
Right.
Once again, 6 days to 50 days. And, your listings entered, look at that. 6,361 listings
it's
entered.
crazy. Yeah.
So we're about half that now, which is once again saying we're stabilizing, the market's stable, we're not getting crazy.
You look at the inventory today, 3,200 homes, a little or over that. Is that enough?
No, it's way too low.
Yeah.
And
so what would that typically mean? I mean, if we were looking at like supply and demand, like regular economics,
Right.
if the supply is low and the demand is there, what does that do with valuation?
Prices always go up.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, it's just it's crazy that the fear that's out there
Yeah.
is not real. Like it ultimately isn't. It doesn't jive with what the numbers show.
Right.
There's still a huge demand for housing. People want to own a home, and there's just not enough to choose from.
Right.
So,
And builders are behind. I mean, builders
Yeah.
can't keep up with demand. I get accused of being a salesperson all the time.
you are a sales guy.
I am a sales guy. I can't.
That's okay.
That's true. Go ahead and accuse me of that's the truth. But I also want to say the truth is I understand the power of owning real estate. And even if you bought a house right here in the peak of the market, you are going to be just fine 3 years from now.
Yeah.
5 years now, 10 years, 30 years from now, you're going to be like, whoa, I thought that was a mistake, but now look, right?
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, I'm telling you, like, I'll put my whole reputation on it. If you bought a house today, you look back a year later and be like, wow, thank goodness you bought a house today.
Yeah.
I mean,
True.
in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, you'd really be grateful for
Right.
it. Now we're talking to the sellers, we need more houses.
Yeah.
If I'm a seller right now, this is what I do, Jeff. I list a house for sale today, high.
Yeah.
I list the price high. Let the market come to you. If you're not in a hurry, let the market come to you, get the house sold, and then go and get yourself into a new house, right? I mean,
So you list high ultimately if there wasn't like an urgency.
Right, if
If
there's no
there wasn't
urgency.
A necessity to move immediately.
Right.
I think that's smart. At the end of the day, if there is urgency,
Right.
then 50 days is not a game changer. You can still find another place. You could still sell your home and get relative to a 30-year period or
Right.
10-year period at the top. You're
Yeah.
still way up there.
let's talk about the best week to list your house.
Yeah.
The experts at Realtor.com have determined the best week to list your home is April 16th through the 22nd. Basically, you're saying that's the
Buying.
ideal time for home sellers to have your home on the market. Obviously, Realtor.com is a national company, might be a little different from state to state.
Yeah.
So about mid-April, that's when you get your house listed on the market. We're a little bit behind because rates popped up. But when people come back in the market, they're gonna come back pretty fast.
Fast, right?
And going back, if I need to sell my house and buy a new house, I actually do have a different strategy, which I would actually list my house. I'd be the best value in the area, get it sold in a couple of days, and I would go get something from a home builder right now. They're offering awesome incentives, their prices are down, or go negotiate a deal with another seller who is wanting to get out of their house and get a rate buy down, have them pay for your closing costs, things like that. You might actually end up better off selling a house fast. Matter of fact, you probably will end up better off by selling it quick.
Than the 50 days. So you're looking at that maybe as kind of a lateral move, right? Like, you know, ultimately you're not trying to capitalize and wait.
Right.
You're saying time is of the essence, and so, you know, I'll sell quickly at a fair price and reap the benefits on the purchase.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Isn't that the name of the game in sales and real estate in general? Like, timing is everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's why in November, when I saw the market was going to correct, I said, hold off. Don't buy right now. Wait a couple months, just a couple months. And now we've hit that bottom. We're in the bottom, guys. It might go down another 10,000. I don't know, but we're kind of in that bottom. Now's the time before all the other buyers come back to the market. It changes everything.
Sure.
Guys that need to sell, here's the reason why I'm saying we're giving you this information ahead of time. Is that we probably need to make some updates. The selling season's quickly coming. And so you need to get going on those projects, right? There's some things that are gonna have to be done. And sometimes I have people be like, well, maybe I can slide by on this or that. And I'm like, well, they're probably getting a home inspection. The home inspector's gonna find these items, and then the buyer's gonna come back and say, you need to fix it, or we need a credit. So I just say, just try to get those stuff cleaned up so the house is presented beautifully and everything's working and it makes them confident and happy.
Makes sense. Yeah,
So,
get the projects done.
So Realtor.com also did a poll, and they said, the common updates are landscaping and painting. Jeff, why?
You know, that's the show. Like, that's like, when you think about it, the curb appeal, it is that landscape.
Right.
And the painting makes it feel fresh and new. If that's not done, if it's a little dilapidated, then a buyer, they're gonna think, I can get a deal here. They don't care about this house, so I'm ultimately gonna try to like negotiate or offer less. The better it looks, the more you're gonna get somebody emotionally connected to it.
Right.
And they're ultimately gonna probably pay more.
Yeah. You only get one chance to make a first impression.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've pulled up the houses with people and they've said no.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, let's
keep driving. Yeah.
We're here, let's go walk through it. They're like, nope. I'm like, okay, well, you know, it's a little bit of upkeep on the front can make a big difference. Every house is different, so go ahead and reach out to me and I can come in and look at your house and say, okay, these are the things I would do. Don't worry about these things, you know. If you want to sell your house fast for top dollar, you're going to watch my video. Do not list your home for sale until you do this. And that's going to give you 5 things that you need to do before you list your house. All right, okay, Jeff, I'm going to come back to Blood on the Streets. I'm coming back to Blood on the Streets. That was a preview.
Woo! Yeah, I don't know what this, okay.
So Jeff, we're going to let you talk about current rates. And
after the Silicon Valley Bank debacle, we had a bit of a correction. Interest rates settled a little bit. There was a fair amount of panic. And sure enough, the Fed comes back and they raise rates 0.25%. And what happened? Mortgage rates skyrocketed? Absolutely not. They don't work together. The Fed is ultimately trying to tighten and control the liquidity or control the money by raising short-term rates. But investors and mortgage banks, we're looking at long-term rates. We're looking at the next 30 years. And those rates, we feel pretty confident that they're going to continue to come down a little bit. And so rates have kind of settled. We're really in the mid 6s right now across the industry. But there are plenty of lenders, including us, that are offering significantly lower rates when you discount, okay, or you pay points.
Right.
And so, I mean, I locked somebody this morning at 5.25, paying 3 points. The seller was paying it, and for them, it was a difference of, you know, a solid $600 less per month. Somewhere in the 5s is absolutely a possibility for an interest rate on a 30-year fixed, without anything funky or prepayment penalties, anything like that.
Well, we saw when rates dipped to the low 6s in January, a couple
Big
months ago,
pickup.
we had a massive pickup. So we know that buyers will re-enter the market when rates hit the low 6s.
Yeah.
Instead, why don't you buy a house today and have the seller pay your closing costs and a rate buy down and get in the 5s, low 5s? Well, like, why are you waiting? It's crazy to me.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
I think it's a fear thing, Ty. I think at the end of the day, you know, if you're not completely comfortable with where the market's going, or you don't really know, you don't have all of the information, or you start to key into misinformation, that can even be worse. You need to talk to an expert. You actually need to sit down, run through your finances, run through your budget, and determine what you can spend. And that tells you whether or not you should buy a house. I mean, it's kind of black and white.
He'll sit down with you. He's gonna go over those numbers, tell you how much house you can afford, and then we'll look at when you start looking at houses, how much do you need the seller to contribute to buy down your rate? We're gonna know all that before we go out and look at houses.
Up front.
Stop listening to the media and the press and all those people on, wherever.
The outlets, you don't say.
Out there.
Yeah, it's out there.
Yeah, stop listening to those guys and just go see what you can really buy today. That's the smart thing to do. Be a wise investor. And so let's talk about blood in the streets.
Yeah.
I was watching the edited version of this, just so you know. I don't know what the R-rated video looks like, but in the movie, Outside Man, Jodie Foster says when there's blood in the streets, buy property. What does she mean, Jeff?
I don't know specifically in this movie what that means. Anytime there's fear or there's a potential reduction or there's sellers that are desperate, you absolutely should buy. Because that is essentially the chaos before things start to move back up.
And real estate always moves back.
Always moves back up. And so that's, again, it gets back to our conversation here just seconds ago, right? Like, what's happening? Why isn't the buyer doing it? The fear is there. Well, you've got to kind of push that aside and realize that the opportunity is there as well. And that is huge. Speaking of blood in the streets, this week specifically, I have been absolutely slammed as a lender. I was here until a little after 10 o'clock last night trying to help some first-time home buyers purchase, and they're realizing that this is the opportunity that if they wait longer, the opportunity will pass and they'll remain renters. But the financing side is easier than they're realizing. They are expecting, coming in as a first-time home buyer, that they'll just be told no, or that they can't perform. And sure enough, many of these applicants that I've had this week, absolutely qualified. Other lenders have even said no, and we can perform, and truthfully, they should be homeowners, and they're going to be homeowners.
And Jeff, that's why, the last couple months, I've really been harping on this, it's time to buy a house. You need to start looking, the deals are out there, it's time to go. And I know a couple months from now, we're gonna be sitting here saying, I don't want to say it, I don't want to say we told you so. I don't want to have to say that. But it breaks my heart because I'm the one that's dealing with people really upset. They're like, oh my gosh, we could have done this, we could have got that. And I just don't want that happening to you guys. Come out right now. We need buyers, we need sellers. The market's going to change with or without you.
There's going to be a couple really smart people that see it, and the other people, it's usually they're behind the game, and that's when the opportunity gets missed.
So I always talk about what's that exact perfect time to buy a house, to beat the market, right?
A while ago.
It's before. Before it bottoms out. You have to buy before it bottoms, because once it bottoms, all the buyers come into the market. You no longer have the advantage. We want the advantage.
It's true. And timing that is nearly impossible. So that's where it's almost like you have to look at it as, can I make this happen? Period. If you can make it happen, the interest rate can change. You can always refinance, but you can't go back in time and buy the home for $40,000 less. That's just not an option. So that slide that you showed, 1 month 510, the next month 524. You should be keying into that.
That is
you should be keying in and
big.
Get out there and look for a home.
So I just saw another thing from this guy. Who's that guy?
That's Dave Ramsey.
Dave Ramsey is one of the most conservative people about buying a house ever. And he's absolutely correct. If you're not ready, if the time's not right, you do not buy a house. He's absolutely right on that. But I heard him just recently come out again and say, you need to buy a house right now. He was saying buy a house when prices were dumping. Why? Because he understands that if you can afford a house, you can buy it, and
it's irrelevant because you're not flipping the home. You're buying the home to stay in the home.
We're talking about fear and blood and all those things today. Warren Buffett said, be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy only when others are fearful. People are fearful. This is the greatest investor of all time. There's fear in the market. It's time to be greedy, to buy a house. That's it, Jeff. I hope we got across today, because honestly, Jeff, I am going crazy. I want to help people. This is the moment right now. And 3 months from now, it could be 3 months from now, we're looking back and being like, dang it.
I agree. Parting words. interest rates won't stay where they're at right now. That's a very safe statement, right? Because they could go either way, right? But truthfully, at some point, rates will probably ebb a little bit lower, create opportunity. But I'm telling you, if anything is proof in the pudding, all you have to do is look back in 2021, where we saw very low interest rates and we saw massive amounts of appreciation to where homes were no longer affordable. What happened? Rates, came behind that and increased. That's what real inflation is. If we get in another cycle like that, which has happened, then it really will be hard to afford a home. And right now, because inventory is low, and you saw it in these slides, there is more of a likelihood that values are going to start to click back up. And while rates are kind of clicking down, there's this just window, and it could literally be a couple of months. So there is no point in waiting. And if rates go lower, you can refi.
I've had a lot of people saying to me recently, well, we're in a recession, or a recession is coming, or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you guys know this, but rates actually go down in a recession.
That's absolutely correct.
And so rates would only come down further. Some of the smartest people I follow in the industry believe rates will hit 5.5% and maybe even 5% before the end of this year. So if that happens, it'll be crazy again.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, that's a good solid $120 in somebody's payment. On the average loan amount, that's $120 per month. And is that the difference of qualifying? Could be.
Yeah.
And when they drop there, just realize there will be more buyers and there is less to choose from. So
yeah. Okay, guys.
Bye.
If you're looking to buy or sell a house, now's the time. So contact me, contact Jeff, get yourself set up, ready to go, and we'll catch you next time.